Are we back in winter? That's the question. Freezing cold this morning.
Well, it's cold. It's cold.
It's freezing. It really is.
The sun's not got its act together yet so far today. Though, yeah, it got cold on Thursday, didn't it?
Welcome.
It got so cold on Thursday, Richard decided to cut his hair off.
Welcome to the show, which is called
Sunday Chat!
It is, with me, Richard, and him,
Paul.
Welcome. Thank you for tuning in to yet another episode of the show.
Sunday Chat!
And in other news, we're nearly at 8,000 subscribers.
It's really bizarre, you know, you get to a certain number and then you sort of, you just carry on adding, and then you get to near a certain number and it takes bloody ages to get there.
Well, it's taken us 7 years.
Yeah.
7 years to reach 8,000 subscribers, and we're grateful to all of you who do watch.
Yeah, not all of subscribers, because of course not all subscribers watch. In fact, only about, I would say, 15% of subscribers generally watch. Yeah, so there we are, on a weekly basis.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We do appreciate
it. It is a bizarre thing, YouTube. It really is. It's there's from a sort of creator side of things, there's no rhyme or reason to anything. Unless you're being sensational. Anyway, there we are. Yeah. So your hair, Richard, you decided to cut your hair.
What? Am I here? What's going on? We had an early start. Yes, I did cut my hair, but coming on to that later, Paul. Later. Put your arm down. Arm down. That's it. Lovely. Keep it there. We did have a very early start. Yeah, whatever, Paul. We can say 4 o'clock. So I'm just about to hit that wall. We've got a notification.
We have. It's for something being delivered.
Buying
Yes.
things,
Yes, I have.
Paul?
I have.
Naughty Paul. Yeah. Our niece stayed with us last night. She's down at an event over the weekend at Goodwood, and the event is called Good Woof. So that gives you a clue as to what kind of event it is. It's all about dogs.
Yeah.
And she is doing portraits down
Of dogs.
there. Sophie Stock Art. So she had to get a 5:30 train from our local station to catch a 6:30 train from Victoria to go to Chichester. So she's at the event today and tomorrow. So if you are down there, you can catch the event on Sunday down at Goodwood. Yeah.
And maybe you caught it on Saturday, today.
Maybe you did.
Who knows? Maybe you were there. I was thinking, could she have gone to Reading and then gone down from Reading?
I don't know, Paul.
Because you can get to Southampton, I know. Mind you, it might be longer. Yeah, might be longer to do that.
I have no idea whatsoever. But yes, so that's why we had an early start. Had to be up at 4 to make sure she was up and about and make sure that she had some toast in her belly before she left. Like good uncles. Uncling.
Like the good uncles we are.
Yes, of course.
Occasionally.
I think we've always been good uncles.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
So yes, there you go. So I feel as though I'm about to hit that wall. Yeah, because I feel as though this week I've not had great sleep, to be honest. I've slept, but I don't think it's been quality sleep, and I think it's been quality sleep.
Yeah,
sounds like a box of chocolates. Yeah, you know, you have those weeks sometimes where I don't really know why, but But yeah, I don't feel as though I've slept that well. So,
We've got a lot. There's a lot going on around us at the moment in terms of building. Anyway, we'll come on to that. But I think when there are things like that, and also we're looking after a neighbour's cat, so that requires the cat requires feeding once a day. Somebody else does it as well, shares it with us, and also the cat needs injecting. So that sort of adds to routine, and it needs to, because it's diabetic, it needs to be injected at a certain time because the other person's doing it 12 hours earlier, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I think it's been a bit of a discombobulating week in a number of different ways, but yes, we go onwards.
can you go on, Paul? I can't go on.
I can go on. Yeah.
Oh, I won't be going on much longer, I can tell you now.
And he's had a coffee before this herbal tea as well.
It didn't touch the sides, that coffee.
Well, you don't like it too strong.
It didn't
so
touch the sides. I used to love an espresso, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah.
A double espresso on that little machine that we had years ago.
Yeah.
It was a posh coffee machine.
And we brought some. I've been almost fantasizing about having some really nice, fresh brewed coffee
I
of
have
late.
too.
And I don't know why.
Why didn't you just buy some beans and we could have had a lovely... Because we've got those...
Cafetières.
we've got a cafetiere.
And we've got the espresso.
And we've got the little, the one you put on the stove top that makes the noise.
Percolator.
Is it a percolator?
Well, it's sort of like it's those sort of Turkish ones, if you see what I mean.
Which I love.
Yeah, they're
love
fantastic.
those coffees.
Yeah.
But we haven't had proper coffee for years.
When we went
So maybe we get some beans.
Well, the thing is...
Because we've got a grinder.
I know, but if I can get a word in edgeways...
Well, not really. I don't think so.
I'm often disappointed by the beans that we do buy.
That's because we had Balinese coffee.
We did. That Balinese coffee. We when we went to Bali in 2000, we came back
16
with
kilograms.
16 kilos of Balinese coffee beans.
We went with no luggage.
Well,
because
we had a bag.
Our friends told us you can buy anything you need out there.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's not like a third world country. You can buy stuff out there. Just bring like a change of clothes and whatever toiletries you need. So we took a few things each in like over the shoulder bags, hand luggage, because in those days you could carry anything really.
Yeah,
couldn't you?
yeah.
There were no restrictions.
No, there weren't at that point. No.
That was before
that
the
was
shit
before.
hit the fan.
Yeah.
And we literally went with a change of clothes, that was it. And we purchased shed loads of stuff when we were out there. Carvings, coffee, freshly roasted coffee beans. Sarongs. Various things.
I always have this vision of him going through the rice paddy fields in a sarong, sort of stamping his little feet along.
Well, I tied it too
tight. Too tight. And he was sort of like
a geisha
shimmying through the rice paddy fields. And you have to stamp your feet.
You do,
because of the snakes. You know, the
to vibration. Tell them you're coming.
It's like the grass snake that we've got at the site that is often on the plot. She's quite big. If you watch a week at the plot, I haven't got her on camera yet, but she's...
And you wonder why I don't go down to the plot.
She's well over a metre. She's most probably about 4 feet long. And it's difficult to get a photo of her because as soon as I spot her, I'm sort of walking towards the polly, very near the polly sometimes, and I'm walking towards the polly and my vibrations of my feet warn her that I'm coming, and then she sort of
It's 'cause
quickly
it's kind of like
slithers away.
thunder in the distance.
It's
isn't
like
it,
an
Paul?
elephant herd coming towards the polytunnel.
So
Absolutely.
tell me, Paul, tell me, I don't know anything about snakes other than the fact that I don't think I like them.
Oh, they're lovely. This one. Well, there's two.
Have they got teeth?
Well, I don't know. Do they have teeth?
Well,
I think
exactly.
they do have little teeth. Yeah, I suppose
Can
they do.
they bite?
No. Well, I mean, they're not poisonous.
You
They
don't
can
know,
most
do
probably
you?
bite. No, I don't.
No.
I don't think they've got huge fangs
You
that
love
sort of
snakes,
burst
yet you...
burst poison out. No. Adders do, of course.
But I know.
Yeah. We don't have well, in fact, adders, I think, are the only poisonous thing that we have in the UK, other than mushrooms and things like that.
Yes.
Yeah. No
I'm-
wild boars or anything either. I think they've got those in France, haven't they?
Well, I'm very
But yeah, where did I get? Yes, paddy fields and the snakes. Oh, and there one day when we were living for a period of time, for a week or so, on Londo's bungalows, which were on the side of a huge paddy field, and that huge snake that came up onto the terrace. I mean, it was like 50 feet long.
No, it wasn't.
Well, it was about 20 foot long. I mean, it was big, you know. And, yeah, oh, honestly, yeah.
Yeah,
Snakes,
whatever.
yeah.
Anyway, blah, blah,
Have we
blah.
done the weather yet?
Richard and Paul's weather report.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let's get on with the show because it's
Yeah.
not a long one today.
No,
because,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unlike that snake. So, anyway, weather. Cold, dull, a little bit of sun. It's feeling really nippy.
It's
It
been,
really
I mean,
is.
the beginning of the week started really
Ridiculous.
warm and in fact pretty hot, and I was almost caught topless in my polytunnel. If you want to know about that, you can read about that on my blog. But
I
then
read
on
your blog.
Thursday,
I read your blog.
you read my blog.
I read your
Thank
blog.
you for reading
Because
my blog.
when you said you were topless, I thought, oh yeah.
Oh dear, yeah. I'm actually. That's one of the little sort of snippets of stories that I'm taking away with me and keeping notes on. I've got a whole load of notes of things that have happened at the plot over the last in fact since 2014. So yeah. Anyway,
What, you mean that didn't happen the other day then?
it did. It happened on Sunday, that one.
So
But
what are
I've
you
got a
talking
whole
about?
host of things. I'm thinking about doing a book about being the chair of an allotment society and going over everything that has gone on.
You mean a kiss and tell?
A bit of a kiss and tell, a bit of a humorous one, yeah. So anyway, where were we? Yes, so it was a warm start and a hot start, sunny. But then on Thursday it got really, really cold. We went from like 24 degrees down to 16 degrees, and it felt it because there was no sun either. It was really cloudy on Thursday. And we seem to be edging back up to a bit more sun.
Well, I do hope
But
so.
yeah, but then at the back end of next week, we're supposed to get back to standard temperatures for this time of year.
Well, it was certainly... I don't know. I felt it Thursday morning, but I think as the day progressed, I must have been doing stuff, so I got warmer, and that enabled me to cut my hair. So it can't have been that cold on Thursday, because when I cut my hair, I have to take all my clothes off. Because I don't want to ruin a t-shirt forever.
No.
Once there's
no.
bits of hair in a t-shirt,
Yeah, never
that's
get
it.
it
You may
out.
as well throw it away. Anywho,
So what's this look then? What's this one?
it's just short.
Just short. There we are.
It's my Judi Dench, Jamie Lee Curtis look.
Yeah. That's what it is.
That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
So, I didn't do a live yesterday because Sophie came down. So hopefully I'll be back on the live show next week, next Friday evening.
What time? You're not sure.
At 6 o'clock. So all being well, I'll be doing the live show next week, but as usual, I will let you know if anything changes. Thank you. Lovely, Paul. So, as Paul mentioned earlier, we're living in the middle of a building site.
We are.
I'm not kidding. We've mentioned it before. I've mentioned it on my vlog. There's building work going on there, 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 and building work going on just over there. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a noisy week. But one of the most annoying things is those neighbours there cut a tree down.
Yeah.
A mature birch tree, which is nowhere near where they're having their new extension, their second extension, and it was very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad.
I mean, I genuinely don't understand it. You know, there's a lot of families around here with young children who seem to be creating the most unenvironmentally friendly gardens that they can.
Yeah.
You know, which are in their own small ways decreasing the beneficial impact of the environment, but also adding to the possibility of heat retention.
Yeah.
And reducing shade, so reducing cooling, and then also increasing bad things
Waste.
in the air.
Oh.
Pollution, because you know many trees and shrubs and plants take pollution out of the air. So
Well, also the eventual discard of the grass that either has failed or become knackered, or a new person moves in and goes, I don't want plastic grass, gonna have to get rid of that, so it goes into landfill. You know, and also, more importantly, the teaching of the children. The education. You know, you're teaching kids that it's okay to have a plastic lawn.
I find
no
it.
trees.
I find it astonishing. And before anyone says, "Well, plastic lawns are plastic; they can be recycled," the thing is, I did look into this many years ago because the business that I was working for was looking at recycling plastic grass. But because it's made up of so many different types of plastics and so many different components, it's very difficult to recycle other than burning for energy, which of course is not what you want to do. But the thing that really got me, and I think some people may think this is rather pathetic that I felt this way, it was also the way that the tree was taken down. It was taken down with no dignity. The builders were using a sort of jigsaw thing that you cut through hardboard, plasterboard, to bring down this tree, and it just seemed to have no dignity. You know, if you're going to do something like that, even if you're removing a tree completely, do it with respect for the tree. And I know it sounds stupid, but in my book it's really important. You know, you might be destroying something, but do it with dignity and do it with respect. You know, with proper, do it the proper way, you know, with proper saws, not a sort of jigsaw on the end of a thing that you're going to use later for something else. And then, you know, we don't know what the situation is actually, because on their extension they're coming out nowhere near where this tree is. And of course, when you have a large tree, that large tree has large roots, and you have issues then if you don't do it properly. You have issues with those roots drying out and decaying and basically creating loose foundations for anything else that is around. You know, so it's important to do these jobs properly, and I don't think a house extension company and the workers that know how to build foundations and put up blocks and put in windows and roofs and all of that, I don't necessarily think they're the best people to do a job of taking down a very mature tree. But hey ho.
I mean, we're very fortunate in London because most of the streets are tree lined.
Ours certainly is.
And, you know, it's such a benefit. It really is, you know.
There are streets here that aren't, and of course in the bright summer sunshine, when you're walking down, you can choose to walk down our road, which is shaded with trees, and it's quite cool. When you get to the bottom of the road or a few other roads, there's then less trees, and you're just walking in the sunshine, which is lovely. But also when it's really hot, you notice it. And of course tests have been done. You know, this is why you have all these sort of Parisian and French what do you call them? Boulevards and things with trees, because it helps the environment, it helps people.
Well, tests have been done and have shown the differences between the urban, what do they call them? Heat islands, I think they call them, don't they? You know, how trees just bring down the temperature, soften the edges of all the concrete as well, so visually it's more appealing. Green is more restful for the eyes. You know, there's so many benefits of having nature around you. But, you know, people aren't focused on that, and it's surprising that people aren't focused on that.
Particularly people who are having children.
Yeah.
Who, you know, I'm sure they want their children to grow up healthy, happy.
And have children.
I mean, I don't, you know, I think my personal view is that we've only, I think I've said this before, we've most probably only got another 3, 4, 5 decades before we, you know, completely destroy everything. So that, you know, the children now, if they do have children, those children, there won't be a future. But yeah, anyway, there we are. Sunday chat!
So there we are. So we don't have anything particularly political to say this week. Sorry to those of you who love the political
But
rants.
actually, everything we have just said is political.
Well, it is.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, just cut across me, why don't you?
So the Mayor of London has decided that it's a good idea to build on part of the green belt of...
We talked about that last week.
Did we? I thought that was this week. I thought it was this week. Anyway, well, quickly, he's decided that it's sensible to build on the green belt,
Oh, maybe we
which,
didn't.
you know, is the area that surrounds London and
Yeah, we did.
is the lungs of London.
News this week, building on the green belt.
Building on the green belt. There we are. So if you want to watch it, go back to next week. Yeah. It's been a very, very brief, quick week. It's gone very quickly this week. I did go down to Vanessa for a day for her sake and the Great Green Barn. And that, I always find it quite tiring. I really do. I'm not sure whether it's the driving or the intensity of the day, because the day is always quite intense. But I felt really quite exhausted this time round.
But I'd made you a lovely Chilean potato bake.
Yes, out of leftovers as a base that I had made a few days before.
That's right, Paul.
So yeah, it was delicious to come home to that. And I do think I made this sort of vegetable chilli, and it was lovely. But I do think that sort of cheesy potato topping really made the dish that you made.
No cheese potato topping.
Yeah, cheese with a Z.
And I'll be featuring that recipe or a snippet of that recipe in next week's vlogs. I'm sure you all can't wait for that. How lovely. So, word of the week. Okay. The word is scrive. S-C-R-I-T-H-E. Scrive.
It sounds as though it's something where you sort of strive for something, or it's something about carving into something. That's what I would think. So I think it's something to do with some type of writing, I'll say.
Okay, so the ancient word scribe means to come or go, to glide, or simply to wander.
Oh.
It is etymologically related to the Old Icelandic skritha, which means a landslip, and so also to creep or glide. Thus, a 15th century writer might say that a feeling scrithes upon one, or that the unwary might scrive into sinfulness. Slide into, we would say now, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Interesting. Both these examples are from the work of Richard Missin, who was ordained deacon on this day in 1421, before becoming a hermit and translating the works of the 14th century mystic monk Richard Rolle.
There's a lot of Richards in that.
Alarmingly, scrithing in circles is something that the monsters Grendel and his mother are described as doing in Beowulf. In rough translation, men do not know where the hellish ones wander around. On the other hand, in Old English, it was often time itself that was said to be scrithing, which seems a gentler and less anxious picture than our modern idea of time ticking away or running out. Well, that was interesting.
That's quite an interesting word. I think it starts with a definition, and that definition gets quite broad, really.
Oh, really?
Well, I think so.
Oh, good. Right, so television. What have we watched on TV this week, Paul? Well, tonight is, of course, Eurovision.
Yeah.
Which we don't watch.
No, we catch snippets of it.
Well, I don't. But, because I can't be bothered. It's just like a big concert.
Well, it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a big musical concert competition.
Like every concert, it's become ultra sophisticated and not particularly funny. We used to like it because it was funny.
Yeah, and things used to go wrong, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you'd have people that we knew, sort of stars of the day, we're talking back in the 70s, doing the whole French thing, which, of course, was also kind of a little bit funny.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Of
course, Terry Wogan was renowned for his sort of tongue-in-cheekness for the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah, and now I sort of think, I don't see the point in it, frankly.
Well, I guess it's just a sort of international European competition that includes countries that aren't even European.
And countries that really should not be taking part.
Well,
frankly. But anyway, let's not.
Well, no, I'm going to say if Russia isn't allowed to take part, I'm not quite sure why Israel is.
Wow.
But there we are. Yeah. There we are.
Frankly.
Yeah.
But so that's tonight. So it'll have been and gone by the time you see this. How lovely.
Apparently, Sweden is odds on to win tonight with a song about sauna, as they say.
How lovely.
It's quite a fun song, it is, and it is it's not in English, which is
I've only been in a sauna once and I didn't like it. It was far too hot.
Well, they are. That is the point. Apparently in Sweden they have one sauna for every 2 people.
Good for them. So, television. We watched a 1984 version of Agatha Christie's Spider's Web, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed it. Starring Penelope Keith.
Yeah.
And various other actors of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
I
think it was
really, really complex story, which is woven together beautifully and unfolds beautifully as well. Not going to say anything about the plot at all, but it's available on YouTube. In fact, there are a couple of versions on YouTube.
There
There's a
are.
1960s version, isn't there?
With Glynis Johns.
With Glynis Johns,
which we're going to watch.
Yes, which looks good to look at.
I think the interesting thing about Agatha Christie, or many interesting things about Agatha Christie, but one of them is that she's renowned obviously for her murder mystery books, but actually she was a really excellent playwright in her own name. You know, she was great. And many years ago, I think about 2002, 2003, in Westcliff, one of my clients was running the Westcliff Theatre, and I suggested doing a whole season of Agatha Christie radio and stage plays. Some of them were just readings, some of them were fully produced, and it was very successful, and I think it's a shame it didn't go on year, because I think it could have been a great annual event. But Spider's Web is one of the plays that she wrote. It's not an adaptation of a book. It is actually its own play. And the good thing about this version is it's stuck very closely to the script. The Glynis Johns film is very different. It's an adaptation, where this is really a production, a TV production of the stage play. So.
And I think what was really interesting, without giving any of it away, and by the way, it's a slightly slow start for a reason.
Yeah.
So you have to stay with it. You know, the first 10 minutes is sort of just establishing what's going on, because it doesn't become fully clear. The intentions of the characters doesn't become fully clear until part way through. And what's really interesting about it for me is you have your empathy and sympathy sort of changed for one particular character, that it gets sort of, it changes and morphs, and you sort of are uncertain of their intentions, then you're on their side, then you're a little bit worried about their intentions, but then you're on their side again. So you sort of warm to a particular character as time goes by through the play. That's all I'm going to say. It's really good, really well worth a watch on YouTube. Spider's Web with Penelope Keith.
And then, of course, we continue for words that he said only about 30 seconds ago, as time goes by.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I know we say this week on week, but it's just such brilliant writing and brilliant acting. It really is. And I think as I have got older and have watched it, you know, numerous times, you really get the essence of the character development that goes on. Because even though the characters are really very well developed in the first series, the nuances of how things interplay as the series go on is just gorgeous.
And I think also it's about how you identify with the characters as well. You know, you identify with people of a certain age. So that's interesting. We continue with the Bake Off, although I seem to fall asleep each time it's on.
Yeah, no, the interesting thing about this Bake Off was when we were watching it before he fell asleep, we sort of said, I think we've seen this before. I feel as though I've seen these people on here before. And I looked it up a few days later, and sure enough, we had seen it before.
Had we?
We'd seen the one that was on last Sunday or whenever it was actually broadcast a year ago.
Lovely.
But it was on the TV description as a new programme in this new series. Very, very odd. Yeah.
And you continued with Ellis. I think I was falling asleep yet again.
Yeah, that's Sharon D. Clarke on Channel 5. And I'm really pleased to say that the series has been recommissioned because I think it deserves to be.
She is good.
She is excellent. I think her sidekick is really, really good. It comes at things from a very different angle. And it's also really nice to see a new detective series that is based around a character that isn't male and anguished. And we were talking about this with Vivi when we last saw her a month or so ago, how Bergerac was just coming on then. I think the first episode had aired, and how, you know, so many detective series are the detective is male and full of anguish because of something that has gone on in their life. With Ellis, it's very different. Not only is she female anyway, but there's a drive in her that is from her essence rather than from her angst, if you see what I mean. So yeah, I would recommend that. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Is that it?
That's it for this week's show.
That's it for this week's Sunday Chat.
Thank you for tuning in. We do hope you've enjoyed it. I know it's a little bit brief this week, but hey, I've got afternoon naps to have.
Well, morning naps as well, I think.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
I think it may be a late morning nap followed by some lunch and then an afternoon nap. Mind you, need to edit as well so that this goes up.
Yeah, I will do that, and then I'll collapse in a heap.
And just a quick mention that our allotment association, if you follow A Week at the Plot, we have our gate sale next Saturday, raising money for the allotments. So if you're in the area, I know some people who watch are in the area, do come down and say hello. So yeah, and buy plants. Yeah.
Well, don't look at me. I'm not going to be there.
Well, no, I know you won't be there.
So-
Yeah, there was talk of him coming down to the allotment at one point. I did think I was going to ask him. Well, I did yesterday. I've got an issue with the greenhouse. Now, I asked him whether he'd come down, but I sort of worked out how I'm going to do it, and I'll talk about that in A Week at the Plot so that we can go.
Bye then.
See you next week.
Take care.
Bye. And bananas.
Tits and